As a young boy, I grew up in a village called Sumur, chasing lynx and going out with herders. And I was always drawn from a very beginning to the outdoor life. I was very drawn to the mountaineering. And in high school, I started taking Western groups climbing some of the 6,000-meter peaks that we have here in the mountains. And slowly, as a mountaineer, I got drawn into the more beautiful wonders of the rich biodiversity. And I became more and more drawn towards the tracks and got more and more drawn into tracking snow leopards and wolves. And this led to me becoming a nature guide, leading some of the wildlife documentary film groups that came here to do a film on snow leopards.
Helping us was local naturalist and snow leopard expert Rinchens Story, and he studied snow leopards in this area for many years.
And I think it's from there that I got more and more involved with the scientific community. So Jigmed, you remember those days when we used to go out monitoring in the winter?
Yes.
Looking for scrapes and all those signs, the tracks.
Tracks, rock sand.
You were an expert at rock sand smelling, huh?
Yeah.
And you could, trying to get a sense of how fresh the scent was, how long ago the cat has been through. And really, going up on climbing up on those high ridges. You have to set up those cameras. Like hands are freezing, and holding those ice cold rocks, trying to move those boulders to, camouflage it as much as possible from snow leopards. Rodney, brought those remote cameras, and we started using, camera trapping as a monitoring method. Jigmed here is setting up the camera, looking at the cat almost head on, about 45 degrees. We've got another camera here, which is looking side angle to the camera. The receiver stands here, and this is where the cat walks across, breaking the beam. We've had a cat walk through here yesterday at 13:52 hours. Hopefully we should have captured it on the camera. We just be gone for entire winter periods, the extreme period we'd spend out intense monitoring. And I became aware of the plight of the rural communities that had to coexist with this beautiful animal. Beautiful, enigmatic as it may be, it was causing a big nuisance to the farming communities. And while I was making income working as a naturalist, I wanted to do something for these communities. So when the opportunity arose, I jumped at the chance, volunteered by first starting to conducting a survey in the proposed high altitude national park. And it was from there it became more evident, the results became more evident that we had to have a long-term local solution to tackle this problem. And so we resorted to forming this local organization that had to be driven by the local youth, and would look at involving communities in a long-term and sustainable way. In order to make the program a success, we knew it had to be locally driven, and so we inducted local young stewards like Jigmed and Tashi. So it became imperative that we find incentive-based conservation initiatives to help farmers really get them involved in conservation efforts. And the discussions that we did in these various villages led to tourism being a viable option, where villages decided that they would look at community-based tourism, whereby that was defined as a Himalayan homestays.
Jule madam le jule kamsang le jule le ngera sala chilo le sitting dolma,
which would not require large amounts of investment to build a new structure, but would share its simple traditional Himalayan experience to the visitor, and would also cater to the aspirations of host communities. And these would require where the host would provide traditional Ladakhi food. Percentage of the income would go into village conservation fund, which the villages would use for local level conservation actions, which they started by garbage management around the villages, tree plantation. And with the local team, we've been able to involve local communities in a much participatory and in a way that has brought ownership to the program over the years. Something which has drawn on the old traditional wisdom of the Himalayan communities, and it stands today as a hands-on grassroots organization. They started a livestock insurance program, and in one case, they're improving livestock husbandry by predator proofing of corrals.
There are small yaks in this enclosure, and the big yaks are they are keeping here. So this year they just put the proper door frame. So we are also planning to put the electric solar fencing in this enclosure. Also, there's a proper mesh wire. The predator, the snow leopard, cannot come inside. So before, there's a without roof. So that's why snow leopard and wolf can jump in and kill.
Insurance program is one such example where, as an NGO, we've not had to put in large amounts of money to sustain it, but the Village Conservation Fund has provided the subsidy on one hand, and the farmers have had the cash income to insure the livestock on the other. And this is a fully sustainable program today. When a livestock is killed, up to 80% of value of the livestock is compensated from this insurance program, so that the farmer is not only compensated, but also held responsible for better guarding their livestock in these villages. We also saw good leadership qualities in people like Norbu that were consciential leaders in these villages, as well as a great naturalist. And they were, with a little bit of training, Norbu, people like Norbu today stand not as a great village leader, but I think he's a great snow leopard spotter.
I see leopard. I see leopard. Wow. Zoom zoom. Yeah.
The snow leopard habitats are scattered across the large Himalayan inaccessible remote regions, where such programs need to have an outreach either through partnerships with other non-governmental organizations, CBOs, or through government advocacy and outreach. Over the years, the program moved to prime snow leopard habitats in over 15 villages spread across Ladakh, Zangskar and Spiti. And with the increased demand for such an experience, especially in villages located in prime snow leopard habitats. The business from the tourism, we saw that there was a change in local perspective from towards this snow leopard that was seen as a pest to a valuable tourism asset. In the later years, we added the education program and the environmental education program in the conflict villages of Marka and Zanskar. Came up with teaching aids that were relevant to the local environment. And in one case, they set aside a large grazing reserve for the threatened Tibetan Agali. We would like to see the organization have an outreach to other remote settlements where even visitors do not get an opportunity to go to. And we'd like to see economic benefits such as the homestays or through handicrafts benefit conservation in such remote destinations. I first went into these villages. One common question the villagers would ask is, why did you name your organization after this despised cat? And today you go back to the same villages, you hear people saying the snow leopards and the wild animals are the ornaments of our mountains. There's some villages like Rumbak where you see signposts at the beginning of the villages saying, "Welcome to the snow leopard capital of the world." So it is quite evident that people have had a drastic change in their mindset towards snow leopards.